All right, what's going on, guys? SteelTwins back at you with another mock draft.
Yeah, man. Last week we did a collaboration with Steel Logic. Huge shout out to him. This week we're doing another collaboration with formerly known as Dancer Dan. He is now going by Steel Sentinel. Of course, you guys know we had him on the channel a few times last year for a mock draft. That was fun. We had him on this past season for some weekly predictions. That was fun as well. So we got to get him back on the channel this time around for draft season. Steel Sentinel. What's up, man?
How's it going, guys? I hope everybody's staying nice and healthy and coronavirus free.
Absolutely, man. Hope everyone stays safe. Stay safe, stay clean. Like he said, stay healthy. So, this shit's apparently getting real serious. So, but yeah, man. Steel Sentinel, if you want, you can have the floor first. Of course, I know you have a very interesting mock to address. So, yeah, you can have the floor, man.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on the show again. I love you guys. I love the content you put out there. And
I appreciate it.
Shout out to everybody who has been around for a while, that's been in the Discord chat, and who's been watching your videos for a while. So let me make one thing clear right off the bat. I'm going to shut down all this quarterback conversation that's going on. The Steelers aren't drafting a quarterback, period.
Thank you.
Colbert and Tomlin have made it very clear they're rocking Ben, Rudolph, and then whoever that third guy is, whether it be somebody on the roster or somebody on the practice squad like JT Barrett, Duck Hodges, or Paxton Lynch. But they're not going to draft anybody. They have too many holes and too many important things to fill and get ready for Ben to waste a third-round, second-round pick on a guy like Jalen Hurts. And for those of you who don't know, the Steelers didn't even show up to Oklahoma's scouting day, their workout day, partially because of the coronavirus, but also because I don't think there's anything there they're interested in. So
Yeah.
get rid of all this Jacob Eason, Jalen Hurts talk. That ain't happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not bringing in a vet guy. Okay, so I just had to put that out there because people saying some stupid shit sometimes.
Yes, thank you for addressing that because I think a lot of people completely just don't want to face that because they are too focused on getting a new franchise quarterback now, which isn't our main priority. So,
yeah. So, one more thing I wanted to let you guys know. I wanted to make this mock draft as quote-unquote realistic as possible. So, although it's realistic, I'm going to be doing this mock draft as if I, Steel Sentinel, am the GM. I'm the one drafting. This is not what I think the Steelers will do, but this is realistic in the sense that these players could fall to these parts of the drafts, that the Steelers are interested in these players based off of, if they're going to their pro days or if they have had meetings with them or they might have meetings with them in the future. The picks that I'm making are those that are being suggested because that's what the Steelers have been looking at. For example, the Steelers didn't address tight end at the combine pretty much at all. So that's going to affect my draft. The Steelers were heavily looking at DBs. That's going to affect my draft. So know that there is a method to my madness. That being said, I will be more aggressive than the typical Kevin Colbert draft would be, because my philosophy is if you're bringing in Ben and he's healthy in the perfect universe, you're only going to have him for about 2 years, which means your Super Bowl window is rapidly closing. So you need to mortgage your future for the present. And I'm taking that idea from behind the steel curtain. There's a guy who he's a podcast guy who said that, and I really agree with. You want to win now, you got to mortgage your future and your assets you have for future draft capital to get what you need now.
Right.
So now that I got all that garbage out of the way, let's get to the actual mock draft. So as we know, the Steelers don't have a first rounder because we have Minka Fitzpatrick, the GOAT. Yep. Love that guy. And he's keeping number 39, which I'd love, which means I can get my jersey now.
Right.
And thank you, Miami.
So, yes, thank you, Miami. Thank you, Miami.
Big time.
So, to me, the first need the Steelers should be addressing is not edge. They're keeping the Bud, whether they tag him or whether the new CBA passes and they work out a deal with him. Personally, I'd like the tag option because I think TJ Watt is going to set the market and is going to get a crap ton of money from the Steelers when his new contract comes out. So I'm not going edge. Everybody keeps saying draft Josh Uche. No interest in that whatsoever. If the Steelers have Bud for another year, you can address edge another time. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, the Steelers' main issue last year wasn't their defense. It was their boo-boo offense.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's where you need to draft. And I know a lot of people, myself included, would love for them to draft a running back should someone like Taylor or Dobbins fall. But those guys, especially Taylor, did so well at the combine that they're going to be gone long before. And I don't see Kevin Colbert having the draft capital to move up in the second.
Yeah.
What I do see him able to do, though, is get some draft capital to go down in the draft. So what I have here is the Atlanta Falcons have 2 picks in the second, the 15th and the 23rd. I have us trading our 17th pick and a future 2020 second rounder for Atlanta's 2 second rounders. Now, why did I do that? Because I want to be able to maximize the amount of quality players not having that first rounder in the second round.
Right.
And to me, Ben's going to need weapons. He's going to need a wide receiver. He's going to need a running back because that wide receiver room is still lacking a field stretcher. And the running back room is average. It's average.
Yeah.
So with the first pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Chase Claypool, wide receiver from Notre Dame.
Damn.
6'4", ran a 4.4. This guy is big. He plays like a tight end, but he's a wide receiver. He's got the speed of a wide receiver. That is someone the Steelers drastically need. Now, granted, someone like Jalen Reagor is tempting. Someone like Devin Duvernay is tempting. At one point, Denzel Mims, before his draft capital shot up, was tempting. But to me, Chase Claypool is a physical, traditional, field stretching, hard blocking wide receiver that will fit in great with Ben Roethlisberger. Someone who can help stretch that field. Someone who could, even be put into some tight end sets to throw off, get a little creative with things. He's someone that if he's there, even if they don't do all this trading that I'm talking about, if he's there, I'm taking him in the second round, period.
Right.
I've been nothing but impressed with the guy. I mean, just to shoot some stats your ways on this guy. I mean, he's 6'4", 229 pounds. And in 2019, he had over 1,000 yards, 66 receptions, 13 touchdowns, and his average was about 15.7. How could you not want that on your team?
Right.
Pair that guy up with Juju, Deontay Johnson, and James Washington, and you're going to make defenses have a nightmare playing you.
Seriously, especially with Ben at quarterback. Holy shit.
How do you scheme for that?
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
So now, with the second pick that we traded and got from the Falcons, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Cam Akers, running back, Florida State.
Okay.
I love Cam Akers. To me, he's like right out of that elite tier of running backs in this year's draft, but he's still great.
Yeah.
And he's great for one sole reason. He is very similar to Le'Veon Bell. That is, in my opinion, his NFL comp is Le'Veon Bell. And he's a faster Le'Veon Bell, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He can run and he can catch. Something that I think a lot of people who are drafting forget is that a running back needs to be able to run and to catch. Look at someone like Alvin Kamara. He can run and he can catch. I love Jonathan Taylor, but he's more of a runner, a solid runner. Benny Snell, he's kind of just a downhill bowling ball runner. James Conner as much as, I wish he could stay healthy, he is a runner and a catcher.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell was a runner and a catcher, and we all know Ben loves those little dump-off passes to his running backs when he needs to. And Cam Akers is that guy. Not to mention, you have to remember the Steelers like drafting younger guys. Cam Akers is only a junior.
Yeah.
And he was doing crazy things with an offensive line that was more porous than Swiss cheese. And I'm not talking in the good way. This guy, I think, will be a great addition to the Steelers. So in that second round, you're gaining 2 weapons. You're gaining a field stretcher, and you're gaining a much more complete running back.
Yeah, man. I'm also a big fan of Cam Akers, so I absolutely love that pick.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think he's going under the radar a lot because of guys like Swift and Taylor and Dobbins and even Hilaire from LSU.
Right.
So Akers will be great.
Exactly. So now we finally, it's been confirmed, have that third round comp pick from the Le'Veon Bell trade and all that stuff in the formula. Something the Steelers are going to need to address is that offensive line. I do not think Ramon Foster is going to be there. I think he's going to be a cap casualty because he's an older guy. I think he's just seen his last days in Pittsburgh.
I agree.
And we need to step up and fill that hole. I want to keep Matt. If I'm the GM, if I'm Kevin Colbert, I want to keep Matt Filer right where he is. Because if you care at all about what Pro Football Focus says, Matt Filer was one of the best at his position at, I believe it's right tackle.
Yeah.
I don't want to move him. I want to keep him there. And I'm not the biggest Banner or Chukwuekorafo fan. I mean, that's just me personally. So I'm drafting a guard pretty early on. They could even go guard in the second round. But me personally, I'd take him in the third round. And I'm taking, with the third pick in the 2020 draft, I'm taking Ben Bredesen, guard from Michigan.
Okay. It's another guy I like.
Yeah, he to me is like a David DeCastro kind of clone in the sense that his body, he's a 6'5", 325-pound dude. He is a monster. He is someone that can really start at guard right there and me not be too worried about it.
Yeah.
And he's definitely someone who has the pedigree to continue on being that new face of the O-line once these older guys start to retire and or go elsewhere.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking guard in the third. A lot of people say, they could see us taking someone like Cushenberry or someone like that. Cleveland, I think, is named from Boise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you'd ever want to draft someone on the Steelers whose last name is Cleveland.
Right.
But there are people like that who could go in the second round to the Steelers, but I chose him in the third round because you're getting a quality pick and you need those weapons to make an immediate impact on this team.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're working our way into the fourth round. And this one might shock some people. In the fourth round, the 18th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Rashad Lawrence, defensive lineman from LSU.
Okay.
If you go pound for pound, someone who could be just like Javon Hargrave, it's this guy. Both are 6'2". Both of them are 300-plus pounds. This is a guy who has the pedigree coming from that crazy LSU defense. Someone who wasn't the most explosive person on that defense, but definitely has the pedigree and the knowledge, kind of like an Isaiah Buggs from Alabama last year.
Yeah.
He was an explosive guy, wasn't the most explosive guy, but has that pedigree. He's someone I'd pick up in the fourth, no problem. I think someone like Leaky Fotu would be nice. I just don't see him lasting that long. I see him going in the third, maybe early fourth if he makes it that long.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't get a Trevor Lawrence, I'll take a Rashad Lawrence.
Right.
Right. But I know Bobby specifically was high on Rashad Lawrence a little while ago. So.
Oh yeah, I mean the guy's got a ton of potential. He's a big dude, and if he develops well, I think he'd be a monster for whoever.
Yeah, that's true.
I really do.
And why not in Pittsburgh, man? Put him
Right.
in that Hargrave spot beside Hayward and Tuitt. I think
damn.
it's more goodness right there.
Yeah.
For sure. And people have to realize when you're talking about the defense right now for the Steelers, you're talking about depth primarily.
Right.
There's no one that needs to be immediately put into that defense unless they don't tag Dupree, which I fully believe they will.
Right.
So you're going to have Tuitt, Alu, who stepped up big time this last year, and Hayward. Now you just need someone like Lawrence like Hargrave, who a lot of people don't remember. Hargrave didn't play a lot of the snaps. Hargrave played, primarily the base, like run blocking defense. He didn't do too much out of that. And he deserves to get a big contract where someone's going to use him to the fullest of his potential because he's a great guy. But Rashard Lawrence is a depth piece. And eventually, the Steelers decide they don't want to stay with Alualu or Tuitt gets injured again, knock on wood.
Yeah.
You have someone like Lawrence.
Right.
So, which leads perfectly into my next guy in the 4th round. And before I do that, here comes another one of those crazy Steel Sentinel trade situations.
Mm-hmm.
So we trade our 29th pick in the 4th round with a future 2025th and a future 2021 4th with the Philadelphia Eagles for their 40th pick in the 4th round and their 22nd pick in the 5th round.
Okay.
And with that, the Steelers select Tanner Muse, middle linebacker / strong safety hybrid from Clemson.
Okay.
Here's someone that I read this on an article and I thought it was genius. You have a guy like Mark Barron who you're probably going to let go of. You had a guy like Morgan Burnett who you let go of. The Steelers are obviously targeting this safety but also hard-hitting middle linebacker position to kind of do what Terrell Edmunds can't. And that's guard that middle of the field. Someone who's fast and who can hit hard, but can also go into coverage and maybe try and cover someone like a tight end or something.
Right.
And Tanner Muse is that guy. Why is he that guy? Because he's 6'2", 230. That's a big linebacker.
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to be a safety in the NFL. I really don't think so. I think he'll move to middle linebacker. But to have someone who is a safety in college and who has that ability to cover, but also could come and wallop on your quarterback or on a running back at 6'2", I mean, that's impressive. And when you look at his stats as a safety, he got 4 interceptions, 3 pass deflections. That's pretty good. But think of it as a middle linebacker getting 4 interceptions and 3 pass deflections. Now you got something special.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get rid of Mark Barron. Honestly, I don't see them keeping Tyler Matakevich. And we don't know what Ulysses Gilbert III can do.
Right.
So I think it is important to address middle linebacker. It's something they've definitely been looking at in the combine. They've been looking at people like Willie Gay Jr. So I think that'd be a great pick. Again, another depth piece that you can have Bush and Williams out there. But when you want to move to more coverage situations, you don't want slow-ass Vince Williams out there. You want someone with a little bit more speed, and you could add Tanner Muse into the mix.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I did that there. And then with that 5th rounder that we also got from that crazy Eagles trade I just told you about, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Dalton Keene, tight end, Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Now we address tight end. I know a lot of people are really high on Alberto. I know a lot of people really want us to go Adam Troutman. But I think the Steelers are rolling and rocking with Vance and Vanette.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I really think that Ben has had a lot of say in whether or not they're going to keep Vance and Vanette. I personally don't agree with it. I think Vance is just too injury prone and he's getting older. I think he's going to be 29. But if that's what the Steelers are going to do, you have to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
There is a possibility they don't keep Vanette, and I'm not the biggest fan of Gentry, although I was. I'll call myself out. I was in the beginning.
Mm.
But he has 1 snap as a professional starter. You really want to go that to me is essentially a rookie all over again.
Yeah.
He's had a year in the system, yeah. But if you have someone like Dalton Keene who can also learn the system pretty well and does better, why wouldn't you take someone who's had experience as a tight end for 4 years? People forget Zach Gentry came in as a quarterback for Michigan and then moved to a tight end.
That's actually something I did not know.
Yeah. And I love Dalton Keene. I think he's great quality for where you're going to hit him in the draft, which is around the 5th, 4th round, even late 4th, early 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Dalton Keene, and he's got a fucking awesome mustache. He's got a super cool mustache. It makes what's his name from the Jaguars look
Minshew?
like
Gardner
a
Minshew.
yeah. It makes Gardner Minshew look like a pubescent little punk. Dalton Keen's got a mustache. And he's a good guy. I mean, he's 6'4". He's right around that Steeler. He's a little undersized for the Steelers, like they're 6'5", 6'6" tight ends. But
Yeah.
Dalton Keene at 6'5", at 6'4", I think is a good fit for where you're getting him. I really do.
True.
Right.
So then in the 6th round, somebody I'm very eager about, and I really hope in some way and fashion the Steelers can secure him. In the 6th round, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Amik Robertson, cornerback from Louisiana Tech.
Okay. Go corner depth.
So, corner depth. And it took me a while. I'm like, why are the Steelers looking at cornerback so heavily at the combine? And then I realized we don't know what's going on with Mike Hilton because he's a restricted free agent, and we don't know if he's going to have enough money to keep him. Joe Hayden's at the end of his contract. We don't know what we have in Justin Lane yet, and you got rid of Artie Burns. And you can never have enough depth. You can never have enough depth at cornerback.
Absolutely.
You can't.
Absolutely.
So this guy is 5'9". He's a shorter cornerback guy. But personally, if we were to put this guy in that slot corner area, I think he'd be amazing. He, in 2019, had 5 interceptions, which is a lot.
Yeah.
In 2018, he had 4. In 2017, he had 5. Every year this guy was in college at Louisiana Tech, he was getting at least 5 or 4 interceptions and at least 1 forced fumble a year.
Nice. So he's kind of like Mike Hilton. He's undersized, but he has that splash play ability.
He does, and I think that's what. And he's a junior. I think that's a big thing too. Is he's young.
Right.
He can get put into the system, but I don't think the Steelers should target cornerback early on. I mean, they're not good at drafting defensive backs at all.
That's true.
So why waste a pick so early on when you have offensive needs?
Right.
But I think for depth, like we were just talking about, I think he's a great pick. I mean, if you look up any tape on the guy, he's really explosive, and I really like him.
Yeah.
He plays with a chip on his shoulder, which I like. I like those chippy guys.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then to round out this draft, again, more depth. In the 7th round, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Jordan Fuller, safety from Ohio State.
Yeah.
You need somebody who's going to challenge Edmonds, and you need somebody who's going to be more of a Sean Davis who can, and let me be clear when I say this, I was never a Sean Davis fan. You need someone who's, again, plays with a little bit more of a chip on his shoulder. Terrell Edmonds still seems kind of just there. You know, no one fears him. No one avoids throwing to that side of the field because, oh, look out, it's Terrell Edmonds. Like, you try and throw near Minkah Fitzpatrick, that's a bad idea.
Of course.
You throw to Terrell Edmonds and you're like, like maybe.
Right. But you're more confident that direction.
Right.
Correct. And I'm not saying that Jordan Fuller's going to be that guy, but I don't think keeping Jordan Dangerfield at this point is going to do you any good. I think you need to bring in more youth at the depth at safety, and I think Jordan Fuller's that guy. I mean, he's 6'2". He got 2 interceptions in 2019. He got 1 interception in 2018. He got 3 in 2017. So it's a guy who knows where the ball is, and I think can provide a challenge to Terrell Edmonds, or maybe just be a good depth piece. So that's my draft. I was drafting based off of what I thought the Steelers' needs were, but I'll do you one better. I won't just give you the draftees. I even have some undrafted rookies who I think the Steelers should target. They have Michael Turk, punter, because I'm sick and tired of Jordan Berry, and he's not worth $1.5 million.
Right.
I have more wide receivers. You got Isaiah Wright, and you have, as far as fullback and running back wise, have Bronson Recksteiner, Tino Ellis, cornerback, and Tevin Hill, edge. So those are just some names, not super important people to know, but just like to give you an idea what I would do if I'm trying to fill some more holes, more depth at cornerback, maybe someone to replace Rosie Nix if he can't stay healthy, a guy at edge, some wide receiver depth for the practice squad, and a punter, because I fucking hate Jordan Berry.
Yeah, I think we can all vouch for that statement completely.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
do you know that he led the team in fumbles?
Did he really?
Yeah, because of that one play that he dropped the ball twice on that punt.
Right. I'd rather not remember, but
yeah, Barry's just god awful. We need to think of a replacement.
Yeah, Michael Turk would be the nice guy right there.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and the Steelers will need a long snapper because they're not going to use any kind of money on Cam Canada being a free agent. So you could bring in Bob the janitor, and he can be the new long snapper.
Right.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that's my draft. I hope it was entertaining for you guys. I feel like it's pretty realistic. It's aggressive, but I feel like it's pretty realistic.
Yeah, totally. Your mock was absolutely interesting. I'm gonna say it's completely different from what our mock is, but I like it that way because it's different. But in my opinion, it's a very good mock because you address so many positions on offense. Your trades are pretty interesting. You go be aggressive and go get some guys you got to get to address depth, but also needed positions, especially on offense. So
exactly, your mock's full of talent guys. That can definitely be the future of this team. I like it a lot.
Yeah, totally.
It's more thought through and everything like that. It's pretty good.
Absolutely. So good shit, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
of course.
But on to our mock, man. Like I said, it's completely different from yours, especially the first pick. With the 49th pick in the 2019, I'm still living in 2019. I wish we were in 2019 because this 2020 shit's outrageous. With the 49th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Raekwon Davis, defensive tackle at Alabama. Like I said, our mock is completely different from yours. And the reason why we go defensive tackle is because we're going to go the similar route to what SteelLogic did in our collab last week, where I do like Isaiah Buggs a lot. I like Tyson Alualu. I think they could fill in for Hargrave very nicely. But what SteelLogic said is that Alualu is depth and he is aging. And Buggs, although he was a sixth-round pick out of Alabama as well, he is still kind of unproven. Davis is one of the more recruited, one of the top D tackles in this year's class that can come in, be a day one starter, and fill in that hole that Hargrave will inevitably leave. And the thing about Davis is he's from Alabama, and, the last time we drafted anyone from Alabama before 2018 was Deshae Townsend.
Right.
And the reason why I go to 2018 is because that was the year Carl Dunbar became our defensive line coach. Before he was our defensive line coach, he was a defensive line coach for Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, we have drafted a defensive lineman from Alabama 2 straight years. 2018 was Joshua Frazier in the 7th round.
Right.
And last year, 2019, with Isaiah Buggs in the 6th round. So I think we go defensive tackle again this year with the loss of Javon Hargrave inevitably coming with Raekwon Davis from Alabama to fill in that hole. And he does have connections with Carl Dunbar. Dunbar did coach him in 2016 and in 2017, so he could recruit the Steelers, or he could influence the Steelers to go defensive tackle again from Alabama, but he could recruit Davis to Pittsburgh, bring in that chemistry, bring in that connection, and just resume that in Pittsburgh, fill in that hole for Hargrave, put him side to side with, or in the middle between Hayward and Tuitt. And the thing is, now this might not be an immediate effect, but in coming years he could step in and slide over to defensive end and fill in for Stephon Tuitt, because we all know Tuitt and his injuries. He is injury prone, unfortunately. When he's not, he's great. But a way to keep him fresh and more healthy is to, split reps with him and Davis, and you slide Davis over from D tackle to right end when you got to keep Tuitt fresh and keep him out on the bench, but then still bring in Tuitt and keep Davis fresh as well by having him out there for when we don't use D tackles, stuff like that. So he can be a defensive end, but also as a D tackle. In the coming years, he could come in, split reps with Tuitt, which could not only apply depth at defensive end, but also give an extra roster spot for another needed position because of Davis's versatility. So that's my thought process there. Carl Dunbar could be a major influence on Davis coming to Pittsburgh because the past 2 years we did draft 2 defensive tackles from Alabama. We could go again this year with Hargrave leaving. So that's my thought right there, man.
Yeah.
I love that pick.
Yeah. And he's a big guy. He's hungry. He's fierce.
He's 6'7"
And
for a defensive tackle.
yeah,
he's a big dude.
He's a big guy. And he's strong. He's aggressive. He's mean. He's hungry, bro. I think him with that with this defense would be nasty.
It would be.
But with the third round pick, the 102nd pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Cam Akers, running back out of Florida State. You went Cam Akers in the second round. We're gonna go Cam Akers in the third round. We gotta address running back. I like Connor a lot. I like Benny Snell a lot. But Connor and his injuries, we all know about that. Benny Snell is still unproven. Although Cam Akers would be another unproven guy. He's a guy we can develop to eventually take James Conner, split reps with him and Snell eventually as the years go on.
Right.
Maybe get Cam Akers in there with a running back committee, get his feet wet, and then eventually take Connor's role. But with the 124th pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Albert O., tight end out of Missouri.
We're not even going to try to pronounce his last name because it's bizarre as
I'm never
hell.
going to pronounce his name right. I don't care if he's in the Pittsburgh Steelers uniform for 15 years. I'm not going to pronounce his name correctly at all. But yeah, we go tight end depth here. Like you said, we might be, or we're definitely going to be sticking with Vance and possibly Nick Vannett if we resign him. But we still got to get tight end. We got to think about the future. And Albert O is one of the more explosive guys, one of the guys that definitely opened my eyes in the combine. I didn't expect him to run a 4.49 completely. So you bring in that speed and that height and that receiving ability and that stretching ability to the offense. He wouldn't be a day one starter, which is great for him because he develop and then eventually take over Vance's spot. So
Exactly.
and you got to add a young weapon to Ben's arsenal as well, of course. So.
Right. Now with our second fourth-round selection, the 135th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Shane Lemieux, guard out of Oregon.
Yeah, offensive line depth. We finally go offensive line depth. Shane Lemieux is one of my more favorite guards in this class. He's a guy that could come in, possibly fill in for Ramon Foster, maybe immediately, maybe not. If we sign B.J. Finney, which I'm hoping he could step in immediately for Foster because he's capable of being a starter, and then Lemieux can eventually be developed to eventually take over that spot, whether that's midseason, whether that's from a year now, 2 years from now. Either way, Lemieux is a guy that can definitely come in and eventually be the future at left guard.
Exactly.
And
Is it Shane Lemix or is it Lemieux?
I think it's Lemieux. I think it's like the Penguins legend, Mario Lemieux. From the NHL.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so now they're not related. I thought they were. They're not.
Yeah,
but they are
yeah.
pronounced the same. Shane Lemieux, similar to Mario Lemieux, but yeah, that's his name. So Shane Lemieux could come in, be a left guard.
It only applies depth at first, but you give him time to develop. Sean Sarrett does work out as our offensive line coach. Give him another player to develop, and if he develops well, he can end up being a standout player on the offensive line.
Absolutely. So, and he's still young. So
Right.
now, since we don't have a fifth-round pick, the sixth-round pick, the 198th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Antonio Gandy Golden, wide receiver out of Liberty. We finally go receiver here, and we get a tall, physical one, and Antonio Gandy Golden. We had him in our initial mock this offseason, and, of course, he wouldn't be a day one starter. He'd be low on the depth chart, and that's going to help him a lot because his route tree isn't really all that massive. So we can help him up on his route tree. He is a guy that can come in, be a very nice deep threat, and still work his way up the depth chart and with his route tree and everything. But he does have the height Ben would love. He does have the deep threat ability he would love. He is a monster when it comes to those 50-50 balls, so those jump balls. Like, he is a demon at it.
Yeah.
Like, he is a cornerback's nightmare with his mismatch ability, with his aggression, and his 50-50 ability. It's dangerous, and you add him to our depth and our receiving core, which we develop receivers very nicely, of course. Look at our resume.
Right.
And you add more to his route tree, he could be pretty decent as well in the coming years. So
Absolutely. Gandy Golden, he's a very talented individual. I feel like he's being slept on, and rightfully so. The guys ahead of him are definitely better, but I would not sleep on this guy. He's got a ton of talent. It wouldn't surprise me if we were to get him, Ben would want to test him out early like he did with Martavis Bryant.
absolutely, because of his height and
Right.
his speed and his physicality and his deep threat ability. So he could be our similar Martavis Bryant, only without the trouble, hopefully. So
Right.
now, to close out this mock, man, the 232nd pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Kalike Hudson, safety out of Michigan. We pair him back up with Devin Bush, but he's a guy that could come in and pretty much eventually, maybe not immediately, but eventually take over Mark Barron's spot. The great thing about him, not only can he play safety, not only can he play safety, but he can also play middle linebacker, outside linebacker. So he has that versatility on the defense that you want, especially in depth. But he can be a solid dime backer guy that, again, maybe not immediately take over Barron's spot, but eventually he has the speed, he has the strength, he has the coverage ability. He is undersized like Bush, but you pair him back up with Bush, and you get that chemistry going on the defense that they already have. And with our defense now, that could add up a lot for the middle linebacker position, for the dime backer position, and a guy like Hudson could really help out with that. Initially be depth. Maybe at safety, because of his size, he might start out better as a safety and then work his way down as a dime backer. So
Exactly.
Yeah, that's our
I love that. I love that pick.
Yeah.
That's a great pick.
It's a lot similar to your Tanner Moose pick from Clemson, only, of course, Hudson is smaller, but yeah.
Hudson's great. He played a position at Michigan called the Viper position, and essentially that was like their all-around guy who could be edge, safety, middle linebacker. So he's the you want to say a utility knife player? That's the guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. So.
And the Steelers met with him for an informal meeting at the Combine. So, again, that's another red flag to look out for, stuff like that.
Absolutely. And they could be looking to compare him back up with Bush, like we stated. So I think that'd be a really nice connection right there to help out the defense a lot, man, with depth and eventually looking at the future. So
Exactly.
Yeah, man. So I want to thank Steel Sentinel, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
there it is.
I'm sorry, I got to get used to it because it's new. So, Steel Sentinel, I want to thank Steel Sentinel a lot for joining us for this collab for this mock, man. It was a lot of fun doing it. Your mock is very organized, very well thought, very interesting, and it was fun to listen to your trades and your thought out analysis about the picks and why we should go this and that and why we're going for offense first and holding defense later, because you're right. Defense, if we go defense, it's mostly for depth, unless it's edge or D tackle. But even if we go edge, it's more so depth because we're inevitably going to keep Bud. So,
Right.
But I want to thank you a lot for joining us for the collab, man. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do it again later this year, maybe before draft week, maybe during draft week, definitely before the draft, man.
Absolutely.
It'll be a lot of fun.
For sure. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Always appreciate the love. Your channel, all the content you put out. It's great shit, so thank you.
Absolutely, and we appreciate that a lot, man. So you're more than welcome to do the piece along with us as we exit out here. So, again, thanks a lot. Huge shout out to you, man. And let us know you guys' thoughts about his mock and our mock in the comments below. And see you guys in the next one, man.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you later.
Peace!
Peace.